Hi, I am Scott with DVSI Entertainment. As most of the world knows, unless you live under a rock, the last Star Wars movie was just released last Friday. That being said, I'm going to go over my honest opinion and review of the entire saga. Being a child of the 80s, I was raised on Star Wars from the moment I could understand it. I was in line with hundreds of other people for the midnight shows of episodes 1, 2, and 3, when they still did midnight shows and not this 6 o'clock Thursday thing. And I just remember being a kid, literally a kid, getting dropped off at the theater in the middle of the night with my friends, and the excitement of those first viewings for everybody, and just people in costume and everybody just having fun. There was no silent moments in that movie. When the crawl started, everybody lost their minds, and I enjoy that. And they still, even in the 6 o'clock showings of the last trilogy, you still get that feeling. Nobody really wants to be the quiet ones like they tell you in the previews that you got to be quiet. No, not in Star Wars. At least not for the first day. Maybe by the end of the weekend people were like shh, but not opening night. So obviously you've got the first trilogy that was released 10 years before I was born. And when you watch it now, 42 years later from the original date, it's kind of, you can see how terrible it is as far as the graphics go. But that's to be expected. The sad part is that we see that as terrible, and in 1977, that was ahead of its time. With the second trilogy, the graphics get better. We're talking 2000, turn of the century. CGI is getting better. Everything's getting better. The thing about the second trilogy, which is actually the first, I feel like they could have skipped episode 2. It's just my opinion. I feel like they could have gotten somebody better than Hayden Christensen. Also my opinion, but most of the planet as well. Episode 1, I enjoyed it. Felt Liam Neeson's character was great, but then he did Taken down the road, so now all I see is Taken every time I watch episode 1. Obviously, you can't do that series without Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ewan McGregor pulled it off great. I wish they would do a story of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. But episode 3, I also think you could have done without most of it, except for that end, because that kind of pivotal. You know, you're finding out exactly who he's supposed to become, and you see the transformation in that end scene where the babies are born and distributed, and he gets the mask, and you hear that. Like when I was a kid and we were in episode 3 and they put the mask on and the breathing started, I lost my mind. That was like, to me, that was the best moment in that trilogy. And then you come to the new trilogy, which is the latter half, because if anybody that knows Star Wars knows, they kind of did things a little backwards. Did the middle, then the beginning, and then the end. Rogue One, great story, ties in, episode 3 to episode 4, ties in that gap. Solo, could have lived without, that's just me. But this last trilogy, you give it to Disney, who I'm not going to say has an unlimited budget, but really. And so you've given a masterpiece to probably the single largest group of imaginative, I'm trying to think of the word. I don't want to say Imagineer because that's too cliche. But you take this masterpiece of a trilogy and you give it to the group of people who have the most will and want to make it better. And they did that. And a lot of people say every time one of these movies came out, when 7 came out, when 8 came out, when 9 came out, there's the critics, oh, this is not supposed to do this way and this is not supposed to be this way. How do you know? You didn't write the movie. You weren't there. You didn't film it. You didn't feel the emotion. The one thing I loved about the Disney trilogy is that there's actually emotion in the movies. The first 6 movies didn't really have that much emotion. I mean, yeah, when Han and Leia make faces at each other, and when Luke and Leia discover that they're brother and sister, all this stuff. Yeah, but this series, like when Kylo kills his father, you know, when with Episode 9, with we already knew that Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, was gone. The way that they sent her off for 40 years of work was the right way. And J.J. Abrams ended this 42-year saga the best way anybody could possibly do it. He paid homage to the original series. Like, when I was sitting in the theater and I watched an X-Wing covered in moss be lifted out of the water, I was losing my mind. I was looking for Yoda. I mean, it was done correctly, and the cues with John Williams' score, it just proves why he's one of the best composers on the planet. I mean, he's responsible for some of the greatest movie trilogies, series, whatever you want to refer to him as, is impossible. I mean, he did Indiana, Jurassic Park, you can go on and on. But the music and this entire saga, that's what melds together. If you take Star Wars and you take the music out, it's, okay. But with the fight scenes and with the emotional scenes and with the even the dead time, you have that. And I think Episode 9, the best way that it could have ended, it ended. Because we have closure on all these different things that have happened over the last 42 years in all these different movies. You have a cinematic celebration, and it's partly sad. Of course there's sad parts, but you leave the movie theater feeling fulfilled because you've seen it and you know what happens, and you don't have to wait for another one because there is no more. And it's sad, but now we just have to go and relive it and watch it when we can. I have a 12-year-old niece who just told me she wants to start watching Star Wars. I'm down. We'll do marathons. But this entire cinematic genre, it's not just about the movies, it's about the culture. For me, I feel like it's an escape from reality. When I sit at home and watch Star Wars, my wife may make fun of me because she's not into it like I am. That's okay. When I'm watching the movie, I am Han Solo. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And I hope that that is the way for a lot of people, not just me, but most of us. So when I go to Disney and I walk through Launch Bay and I get to see the artifacts from the movies and I get to meet the characters, and I know that there's costumes, I get that, but it's still cool to me. My cat was named Chewbacca, and I went a week after, he left and met Chewbacca. And that made me feel better. These movies make me feel better. And I hope that other people can sense that too. Like, if you're having a bad day, just watch Star Wars. Pick a movie. Except Episode 2. Pick a movie. Preferably from the First Trilogy or the Last Trilogy. I mean, the whole Second Trilogy could use a redo, but that's just my opinion. So, I hope everybody enjoyed the movie. I hope everybody enjoyed the entire series, and go back and watch it every now and then. May 5th, it is on TNT all day. I know, because I watch it every year. Doesn't matter that I own them. It's on TV, I'll stop and watch it. I'll pick it up wherever it's at. It seems to always be in the middle of Return of the Jedi, but I don't know, that's just my timing. So, go watch the movie. It is totally worth it. Please click the links below for more videos from Devious Eye Entertainment, and may the Force be with you.